Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So as you might already know from the title of this video that I'm looking to buy a house. Personally for me it's a really big achievement. Buying a house is the achievement for anybody, right? Buying a car, buying achievement. It could be a small thing. So when I was in the university I bought my iPhone with my part-time job salary. That was a huge achievement for me, and it's just like amazing to see that how long far away I've came. So it's been like now 60 years for me in the UK, and finally I've been able to buy a house now. So I'm trying to buy my house, and what I want to do in this video is, so all this process is very complex. It's very confusing sometimes, and somebody like us, like who was from a different country, it's very hard to navigate that process. So what I thought was to actually break down for anybody who is planning to come here and work, study, settle down, whatever your personal reason is. And if you want to buy a house, what are things you should be considering? Then also, that was a question which I had initially, that can immigrants actually buy a house in the UK, right? Because there are a few clauses which you need to be careful about. So we'll be talking about what are those clauses, and then in this video I won't be covering about the full end-to-end process of buying a house, because it will be a really long video. What I'll let you know is how to get started. What are the 3-4 things you need to do in the beginning in order to buy your first house. And also I've done few house viewings. I'll show you some of the pictures here and there, like what was my first reaction of seeing a house in the UK and what was my general feeling, right? So this will be the different section of this video, and let's get started. So now, answering your first question, that can you actually buy a house as an immigrant? The answer to that question is yes. Now you have to be very careful that how long have you been here in the UK. Now if you've been here in the UK for less than 5 years, let's say you were a student, you were an undergraduate student, after finishing 4 years of your degree you've been able to get a job. Now you are around 4.5 years. Now you can actually buy a house during if it's less than 5 years, but there are 2 clauses which you have to be careful about. The first clause is that your salary has to be more than £100,000. Now if somebody has actually got their business, right? So they started as a student visa. Now they're on a business visa, and your business is doing really well and it's able to generate £100,000, and that's your salary. You'll be able to buy a house. There's no questions asked. Or the second clause is, now let's say if somebody's doing a corporate job and the salary isn't £100,000, for them then you need to pay 20% deposit. So generally for another residents of the UK, you're okay with even paying 10% deposit, and also I've seen people paying less than 10%. And also there are few schemes like first time home buyer scheme, which allows you to pay less than 10% deposit as well, right? So I've seen people buying at 10% and even lesser than 10%, but 10% is a general standard in the UK. Now if you've stayed here in the UK for more than 5 years, then you don't actually have to worry about whatever I've mentioned so far. So in our case, even if your salary isn't £100,000, if it's less than £100,000, you can still buy a house. You don't have to pay 20% deposit. So even it's up to you how much deposit you want to pay. As a standard, it's 10%. If you go less than 10%, then the banks start becoming a bit hesitant to give you the mortgage, or the interest rates might go up. So my recommendation is to actually save up 10% of the deposit. So now you know about the deposit. You might be wondering that what are the house prices in the UK, right? So here I can make a dedicated video for you comparing India versus UK prices. If you want that, do let me know in the comment section. I can do my research and get back to you and make another video. But to give you a broad sense, here if you're looking to buy a, let's say, 3-bedroom house, it's going to cost you around £300,000 to £400,000, right? And just multiply by whatever the foreign exchange right now is. It's I think 105. So multiply that number by 105 to get what you might actually, how much it might cost you in INR to get, and then you can actually compare that price with your own house in your local area in India, and get a relative sense that what should be your budget, and again calculate 10% deposit. That's the figure which you need to save up in order to buy that house. Okay, so you know that on average it's going to cost you around £300,000 to £200,000 to buy a really good 3-bedroom house. Now this also depends on area to area. For example, if you want to buy in the area where I'm currently living in, which is Jasmine, very close to the city center, the same 3-bedroom house would be around £1 million, right? Whereas if you're looking to buy somewhere a little bit on the outskirt area, it's going to go down. Even you might be able to find it actually under £200,000. Again, that area won't be very good. Okay, so be very careful, because selecting an area is very important. Don't just go for a cheap house, because that area might have a really high crime rate. So you might, and also the school facilities and other facilities might not be very good. So be very wise in selecting a house, because you're doing a very big purchase and for a long-term future. So you need to be very careful about the area. But if you're looking in an okayish area, it is going to cost you around £250,000. So not hugely high compared to the area which I'm currently living in, which is very, very expensive. Before we go to the final section of this video, I would really like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Amber Students. So if you're somebody who's actually coming to the UK for your studies, you want to get an accommodation to stay in, and Amber Student is a perfect website to go, because it is a marketplace of all the student accommodations. So if you're coming to Glasgow, simply put Glasgow as your location, and it will be showing you all the accommodations which are present in that area. Now you can, of course, you can compare all the different prices. If you're looking something under £300, you can go ahead and book it. If you're looking something for more than £500 with extra facilities, you can do so and book that particular accommodation. Their team is 24/7 available, very friendly team, so you can always contact them if there's any issues with your payment or with the contract details. If you've got any questions, of course they'll be able to help you out. And on this channel, I've been working with them for the last 3 years, have never heard any complaint. If you've got any concerns, definitely can get back to me, but I'm sure the success rate for you to get an accommodation on their website is quite high. So go ahead and book a student accommodation through Amber Student. So now you know about what are the things you need to be careful about, what are the house prices in a really, really broad sense. And now to move on, what are the things you need to do in order to start buying your house. The first thing which I would recommend you to do is to get something called agreement in principle. Now this is something which your bank provides. So my bank account is with Bank of Scotland, and Halifax is the one which I had to contact in order to get this principal agreement. So there are two ways to get your agreement in principle. You can either do it through your phone call by calling Halifax, or otherwise you can just go to their website and do this agreement in principle. Now what is this? Okay, so this is an agreement which the bank gives to you to let you know that are you actually eligible to get a mortgage, and then if yes, what is the amount? So if can you afford £200,000, £300,000, £400,000, £100,000, £50,000? What is that principal amount which you can actually afford? So that's what is agreement in principle all about, and how is it calculated? So you need to provide bank with this data, which is what is your current salary, where have you actually been living in for the last 3 years. So Halifax asked me for the last 3 years, all my address, you need to mention that. So salary, as I've mentioned, also the bonuses, any second income, you might be doing a second job, or what's income for that. So it will be calculating all your total income, and then it will be asking you about your expenses, which is what is your current rent, any liabilities, are you sending money abroad to your parents, maybe for financial help. So they'll ask you all those questions. And then also, have you actually got money saved up for your deposit or not, how much that money is. So these are the things which will go into that application form, and at the end you'll get agreement in principle. And now this won't be taking you very long, so 15 minutes to fill in the form, which you can do either through the website or over the phone calls. Over the phone call, it's going to be very long. I do recommend you to do it on the website, just to make it more efficient and time productive for you. So once you've done that, after just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you'll be able to see how much you can afford. You'll get an email on it, right? So let's say you can afford up to, let's say, £300,000. Now that's your first step. Now you know how much you can afford. Now the second step is to actually now start looking for houses. Now here in the UK, we have got certain websites to look for houses. The two most common one is Zoopla and Right to Move. It's two websites, and then you need to figure out which area you want the house in. Let's say if it's in Jesmond, I'll input Jesmond into that section. You can do obviously a lot of filters around the price range, the bedroom range. If you want, I can make a dedicated video. Feel free to comment down below. So you can do all those filters, and you'll be able to see all the properties which are available. And these websites are sort of like marketplaces, right? So it's not just only one real estate agent is putting on Zoopla, right? It's everybody, all the real estate agents are actually putting the properties which are available in that area on this website. So you'll be having a look at the different properties, and if you want to go and visit that property, you can do a viewing. So you do an online request, and the real estate agent will be able to come back to you through email, and then you'll go to that house, look for the house, and then again you know how much you can afford. So if that's the range, so let's say it was £200,000 in this example, and the house is for £180,000, so you know you're eligible to buy the mortgage. So now you've gone and visited the house, you've liked it, and then you can actually put the offer that, you know, I'm happy to pay you £180,000, and then you move to the step 2, which is something which I'll be covering in the next video, because this video might be hugely long, right?